I'm Mark, and this is the Mr. Productivity Podcast, the podcast to help solopreneurs banish overwhelm, reduce stress, and get more done. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking with the founder of Jotform, Aytekin Tank. He is also an automation enthusiast and author of the book, Your Busywork. Before we dive into today's show, I want to invite you to sign up for the free 21-day productivity challenge. As a solopreneur, you've got a lot to do, and this challenge will help you be more productive at doing it. Invest just 1 minute in reading one tip every day that will transform your productivity habits in less than a month. To sign up, head on over to mrproductivity.com/challenge, mrproductivity.com/challenge, or click the link in the show notes. Now, on with the show. Aytekin, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on your show, Mark.
I'm glad you're here because one of my most favorite topics in the world is something you are a specialist in, and that is automation. So I teach my clients and my listeners and whoever wants to listen to my mouth something called the O-Day method, which stands for outsource, delegate, automate, and eliminate. I tell people, go through their day and write down everything they do. And after you do that for 3 or 4 days, make sure you capture a lot of stuff. Then I want you to put an O next to anything that can be outsourced and outsource it. A D next to anything that can be delegated, then delegate it. An A for automation and an E for elimination. So this fits hand in glove with what I teach people. And I'm really going to geek out over this because I love talking about automation. We live in the year 2023 and we can automate so many things. So I want you to tell us why you got into automation. What makes you love automation so much?
I really like your idea about automation delegation. And I really feel like automation is another way to delegate things. Basically, you're delegating things to the machine, to the automation, as opposed to someone. So that's also very similar. And everything you do with automation should be similar to how you delegate to people. And that's how you're going to have a more productive automation, in my opinion. So I'm the founder of Jotform, an online form builder. And I started Jotform because before I started Jotform, I was working for a company and I had to do a lot of forms, online forms for them. And I wanted to find a way to automate this thing. And that's how I came up with the idea to create a form builder. And that was 17 years ago. And in the first days, I was also a solopreneur. And for the first year, I was just by myself and I created Jotform. And I was kind of helping people with the automations by helping them automate their forms. And after that, many things actually start with online forms. Like you fill out a form, you make a request. And then after that, like there are other business operations or processes that happens after that. For example, if you apply for a job, you fill out a form, you send something, and then it's approved, you go to interview. So there are a lot of steps. So I was also helping clients automate all those things, like automating emails, automating document generations, and whatever they need to do, like approvals, things like that. But at the same time, I was growing my company, but at some point, I was so busy, like I was spending all my day, like responding to email, responding to customers and doing accounting, HR. Like I was spending all my time with Busywork. And right at that moment, a friend of mine actually told me, hey, did you see that Google actually came up with a competing product, like Google Forms came out? And I was like, hey, I'm just spending all my day with Busywork and I'm not advancing my product. And this is like something many solopreneurs probably can empathize with. It's just Busywork takes so much time. And how can I advance my product so that I can compete with Google? And at that moment, I thought, hey, I'm helping all these clients automating their business. Why don't I just help myself as well? Like, why don't I apply my own medicine to myself? So I started applying automation to everything I do. I started with my emails. Like I was spending a whole day, every day, like with answering emails. So I created this like framework, a solution, so that I was able to reduce the time I spent on emails to like 1 or 2 hours.
I love that. I just want to interject here because one of the things I tell people is you can be busy being productive, but just because you're busy doesn't mean you're being productive. So we take this word busyness and we think it correlates to productivity. No, if you're doing, like you said, busy work, or I call it admin work, well, is it moving you towards your goals? Now, we all have to do this busy work. We all have to do admin work. It's part of being a solopreneur. It's just the way life is. But I believe you should spend at least 80%, 80% of your time should be spent doing those activities that are moving you toward your goals. Would you agree with that?
Exactly. I agree with that. Definitely. I basically developed this framework that I call the automation flywheel. And if you would like, I can talk about that a little bit. The automation flywheel is process of continuous improvement. There are 3 steps in this framework. In the first step, I call divide and conquer. During this step, you actually try to understand your busy work, how you are spending your time on, like what you are spending your time on. One of the tools that I use is something that I call the time audit. So basically every hour, every top of the hour, you start noting down like how you spend your time on during the last hour.
You know, a lot of people don't do that, Aytekin. I tell you right now, a lot of people have no idea. They get to the end of their day and they're like, okay, I was busy today, but because they didn't track it, they didn't do a time audit, they have no clue on what they actually did. And I just encourage people, whether you do it electronically or you do it on a piece of a notebook or a piece of paper or a planner, you need to write down what you do throughout the day. Otherwise, you're going to wonder, what did I do today?
Yeah, exactly. And at the end of the week, you total up all the hours you spent and you look at how you spend your time and you ask yourself 2 questions. What should I spend my time on? And what shouldn't I spend my time on? And the second question is more important. How you shouldn't be spending your time on, like what you shouldn't be doing that you are doing. And as solo entrepreneurs, like we have to do everything ourselves, right? So there's just so many things that we shouldn't be doing as opposed to like growing our business, finding new clients, reaching out to the clients that we lost maybe, or like growing our traffic on our website. These kind of things are really things that we should be spending our time on. And there are things like, doing accounting, doing housekeeping, admin things, these things that we shouldn't be spending our time on. Once you ask those questions, I think it's very important that you try to automate things that you shouldn't be spending your time on. Because once you actually automate those things, once you delegate those things to the automation, you're going to have so much more time to do things that are really important, like building a strategy for your business or like marketing your business, increasing the traffic for your business, things like that.
Oh, I agree 100%. I just want to say a lot of people, when I deal with clients and I run them through the O-Day method, and they're like, well, I understand what you're saying about the outsource, delegate, automate, and eliminate. But the one thing I always hear all the time, Aytekin, is, but I've always done this. Well, just because you've always done it doesn't mean it can't be outsourced or it can't be delegated or it can't be automated. Or my favorite letter, can it be eliminated? So a lot of people, what they do is maybe they're trained this way or by a coach or a course or something like that. They have the blinders on like a horse does when the horse is going down the street, and they don't think, hey, maybe things have changed. Can I automate this now? Do I even have to do this anymore? But because people don't ask those questions, what should I not be doing? They don't get those answers because they're just looking forward to go to the next day, the next day, the next day, the next task, the next task, the next task, instead of stopping for a moment and go, okay, why am I doing this again? And again, it goes back to what I said a few minutes ago. If what you're doing is not moving you towards your goals, you need to do a timeout and think about that.
Yeah. And I really believe in writing things down, right?
Yes.
So if you actually write down, like if you do the time audit, if you write down like how you spend, you can actually see, oh my God, I'm spending all this time doing this unnecessary thing in my business. I can actually automate this thing. I can use a product, like a SaaS product, to automate this thing. Like I can, like if I'm copying data from here to there, like I could use the PR, for example, or so. This is one way that's really important that can help us really understand how we are spending our time on. And the other way is what I call the workflows. So basically many things that we do are not just like single item. They are like workflows. And in workflows, you can have things like you're waiting for a client to answer. You are waiting for someone to like make a schedule for a meeting. So it's just like workflows are not like a single things, and they involve multiple things. What I ask, by the way, I need to mention that I have a book coming out, the Automate Your Busywork, on May 16, and I'm talking about this automation flywheel in that book. And what in the book I talk about how you can use workflow diagrams so that you can make it, and I give a lot of examples to workflow diagrams. I mean, you can use pen and paper, or you can use one of the products that allows you to create workflow charts. But basically, you create these like flow charts where you really define exactly what's happening in your business. A client fills a form, and then you respond to them. And then after 2 days, if they don't get back to you, you need to respond them back. So you kind of have all these charts that can actually have forks and that can have like ends and beginnings. So it's really important to write them down.
I agree with you there. And I will tell you that one of the biggest forms of procrastination that I see in our world today is the endless quest to find the perfect app or the perfect notebook or the perfect planner. Because when you're looking for those things, you're not doing what you are telling us we should do. You're looking for that app or that journal or that planner. And I just want people to stop and think, hey, am I wasting time scrolling endlessly on Amazon looking for the perfect journal? Or can I just find a notebook laying around my house and get started? And I'm telling you, if you're spending more than 5 minutes looking for a journal or an app, you are procrastinating because you don't want to do the work.
Yeah. This was the first step in the automation flywheel, the divide and conquer step. So the second step is what I call design and implement. And basically you are designing and implementing automations for your work. And you're able to do this because you wrote down like how you are spending your time on. You were able to understand your busy work by like creating workflow diagrams. So once you have that written down, like once you can see like this is how I'm spending my time on. And for example, you have a podcast. Let's say on a podcast, like you need to find podcast guests and you need to communicate with them, and you need to decide like if you want to have someone in the call in the podcast, and you need to schedule the time, and you have post-processing probably, and you have lots of other things. So if you created this really flow chart about like how you are doing these things, that you have a visual diagram on the paper that you can actually look and then you can decide, okay, I should be spending time on this part, but I shouldn't be spending this time on this part. Like I'm sure you're using Calendly, but for example, if you were just spending so much time like communicating with people, right, back and forth about the time of the call, that can be automated with Calendly.
Oh, 100%. I had a guest on my show about 3 years ago, and he goes, yeah, I don't use software like that. And I'm like, why not? He goes, I'm old school. I understand you're old school, but this is 2022 at the time. And I'm like, this way I give you my Calendly link like I did to you, and you pick the date and time that work best for you. And that way we don't have to spend time texting or emailing back and forth. So Calendly is a good example of automation.
Yeah, definitely. And it's really hard in the beginning, it's hard to start using these tools, but I think it's really important to take the time and really research all the products available. You can go to websites like g2.com, and there are like hundreds of categories, and each category has like hundreds of products. We are living in a like age like no other. I think there are like 3 revolutions going on.
Are you one of the million? Join over 1 million people, which may be a slight hyperbole, and get productivity tips that will help you live a more productive life. Head on over to mrproductivity.com/insider.
The first one is software is eating the world. And this is called by Mark Andreessen. Everything is turning into software. A good example to this, like in the old days, you would go to a travel agent, you would say, hey, I want to go to a warm place for vacation. Now, like you're actually handling everything. you have more options, definitely, but you're actually spending more and more time with like deciding on a hotel, deciding on an airplane, like where you're going to go. Like it's just so many decisions. Software is eating the world. That's the first one. The second revolution is the no code revolution or the SaaS revolution. Like there is just like so many products available, and these products have like so much flexibility in them. Like you can actually, it's like a Lego blocks. Like you can add and subtract features. You can customize things. It's just a Jotform. Like we have like thousands of features. Like it's just mind blowing that what you can do with these kind of products. And the third one is the AI revolution. And this is just incoming. Like this is coming really fast, like all the ChatGPT stuff. Like I'm spending less and less time like going to Google. Instead of going to Google, I'm actually going to ChatGPT and I'm asking my questions. And instead of spending my time like you're trying to read all these like 10 different pages, ChatGPT actually gives me the final answer. I mean, of course, you kind of have to fact check them, but usually the answers are pretty close to the truth. So it's actually very useful to use it. So the AI revolution is going to be big as well. So all these things are happening and people are kind of like, they see that all these products are coming out, but they are kind of also feeling like, they're not sure if they should be using them. It's kind of scary to use them. But I think the way to lower that scare is like be less afraid is to go to websites like g2.com and then go there, read the reviews, like find out how people use the products, like really play around a little bit. I think it's really important to play. As we get older, I'm 45. I play less and less, but I have 3 kids and I can see how play is really important when you want to learn something. Like you just play around, do things that are not important, like not crucial in your business. And then you slowly use those products and it's going to help you really understand them and use them in your business as well.
I use ChatGPT a lot for is podcast episode titles, because for a podcaster, at least for me, host of the Mr. Productivity podcast, coming up with those titles that really get people to want to click and listen to the episode. So I just go into ChatGPT and I just said, what would make a great episode title, or give me 5 suggested titles for this podcast episode that talks about X, Y, and Z. And it generally does a really good job, a job better than I could, because I've got to sit there and go, what would want people to click on this episode? And so ChatGPT makes that easy for me. So I was afraid of using it for a while. Okay. I admit that I was afraid to use it for a while, and I went in there, got an account, and then I started going to the next step for me was taking blog posts that I've written maybe 2 years ago. And I just said, rewrite this for clarity. And I pasted the blog post in there and it took my stuff. So it didn't add anything to it. It took my stuff and rewrote it for clarity. And then I put it on my blog. And so you don't have to be scared of it. I like what you said. Just go and use it. And it's not going to bite you. ChatGPT is not going to come attack you. And the more you use it, the more comfortable you'll be with it. And like, oh, this is not that bad. I think a lot of people are scared because they hear about Skynet and the AI is going to take over and kill everyone. And so they pull back instead of going, wait a minute, let me take this out for a test drive myself.
Yeah. I mean, I think one approach to not to be scared of the automation is just take it one step at a time. Like just don't try to automate everything in your business in a single step. Like use ChatGPT for something, use Zapier to send a data from some place to some other place, create a form. You could use Jotform or, Google Forms or any other product. So just, automate your emails. So you just take one of the things that you are actually spending your time on and replace it with automation. And if you take it one step at a time, it's just easier. It's less scary. And it's the time you save from that is going to help you spend better in more important stuff, the stuff that's going to really make your business grow. And that actually worked for me. Once I started using those automations, I was able to actually spend more of my time improving my product, growing my business, like growing Jotform, like getting more people to use Jotform. And now today, Jotform has like 500 employees, 7 offices in 7 different cities and like 20 million users. So I was a solopreneur, and thanks to the automation that I was able to spend most of my time actually growing my business, and that made a big difference. This was the second step. Yeah.
Okay. Sure. And then now you have one more step of the automation flywheel framework.
Yes. So the first step was divide and conquer, in which you understand how you are spending your time on, create workflow diagrams. In the second step, design and implement. You're actually finding solutions, finding automation solutions, and then deploying those solutions in your business. And the third step is refine and iterate. But basically, you're creating a system. I think it's really important. And there's a book called System Thinking I would recommend to anybody. And it's a very, readable book. It's not like a technical book or anything, by Daniela Meadows. And in the book, she talks about like how systems are everywhere in the world, like how they make a difference, and how you can, if you want to make a difference, like you need to kind of understand the systems, and you need to really apply force in a system, in a place that can actually make a difference, like the feedback points, leverage points, or patterns in systems, and like really politics, the environment, whatever you want to look at, like wherever you want to look at in the world, like the economy, it's all about the systems. Like once you understand the systems, you can actually make changes in them. And your business is also a system, like how you find new clients, how you grow your business, how you make sure your customers are happy. These are all systems that you can improve. And once you start automating things, basically you have these systems, and in these systems, you want to understand what's going on. So you want to have some metrics, and they are called like KPIs, like key performance indicators. So you want to define these metrics so that you can really understand what's going on in your business. For example, let's say you are automating your HR onboarding. So there is like a lot of steps in this process. You have, let's say you interview someone, you decide to hire that person, and then you're going to send them an offer, and they are going to sign some documents, and they're going to sign like NDAs, like you need to order hardware for them. And if they are remote, you need to send it to them. And what's going to happen on their first day, like who are they going to talk to at the company, things like that. So all these things, like we were doing those things manually. We were doing everything manually, and then we were able to automate everything. And the great thing is, like, once we automated everything, we were able to spend more time with the new employee by talking to them. Like, really, instead of spending our time with this bureaucracy and documentation, we were spending more of our time with, like, really meeting that person and really spending time becoming friends with that person, with the new employee. The system, once you have the system, like, you want to refine how it works. You want to iterate on it. You want to innovate on it. And the great thing about automation is that it's easier to iterate. It's easier to improve your systems, because if you do things manually, you're already like scratched too much. Like you're already spending all your time with busy work. Like you don't have any time to add this additional feature or add this like additional step, because like it's already too much. But once you automate things, it's just, if you want to add an additional email, if you want to add additional meeting or something, it's just much more easier because you have the time and you have the more resources to do things.
Yeah, I think people don't realize how many systems they have already in place. So in other words, I have a really strong morning routine. That's a system. When I wake up, I know what I have to do. And if you don't think you have a system, you do have a system. The problem is it's not defined, it's unintentional, and it's inconsistent. But you have a system. Like everyone has a morning routine. Everyone wakes up. The problem is you haven't defined what your morning routine is going to be like. And so what I encourage people, as a result of listening to you share the automation flywheel framework, which is number 1, divide and conquer. Number 2, design and implement. And number 3, refine and iterate. You need to take that information and you need to figure out, how do I create a system of automation that's going to best serve me? Because obviously Aytekin doesn't know who you are, because you're out there listening to the podcast. Maybe you're on a plane, you're out walking the dog. He doesn't know who you are. But what you can do is you can take the information he provided for you on the show today and figure out how to create a system and harness the world of automation. Because listen, you're not going to figure it out in an hour or in a day or in a week. He's been doing this for a number of years. go on that journey and learn how you can harness the power of automation to make your life better and more productive. Now, you have a book coming up really soon, like next week, as the date of this episode dropped. So tell us about the book. What we're going to find in the book?
Yeah, the Automate Your Busywork is a book that I decided to write when I wanted to write about this. When I wanted to share this, the automation flywheel and the automation mindset with the world. But I have a blog and I write a lot, but this wasn't something I could put on a blog. So I spent over a year and I was able to write a book that I am really proud of, because this is not just theory. It's talking about like how to apply automation to your business or your personal stuff. So you can apply automation to anything, but this is also giving the theory, but this is also giving lots of examples, case studies. It is full of hundreds of examples about automation. And it's also providing a step-by-step guide on how to automate your busy work. So it's not, because I wanted to, kind of help people be able to automate their busy work, because it's just, a lot of people are kind of scared because they have the control right now. Like they can actually, when they do things manually, they can see them and they have the ability to really be aware of what's going on. But automation kind of scares them because it's hard to let go. But once you let go, you will be able to spend more of your time with more important stuff. And the subtitle of the book is Do Less, Achieve More, and Save Your Brain for the Big Stuff. And it's really about that. It's about what you shouldn't be spending your time on and what you should be spending your time on. And I hope that you get the book and apply it to your business and become more successful.
Excellent. Well, I remember earlier in the show, you were talking about how people would fill out a form online to apply for a job. I'm old enough to remember, Aytekin, okay? I'm old enough to remember paper job applications. You'd walk into a store and you get an application and you'd sit down and fill it out. That doesn't exist anymore. But I remember those days, and you'd sit there and like, oh man, what's my mother's maiden name, or whatever question they asked. I don't even remember, so many years ago. But I'm so glad we have the technology now, and so many businesses are using it. So if you've never used Jotform, just go to jotform.com and get an account, and it's another way you can automate your business. There's just so many tools out there. I know, listener, it can be overwhelming. I know you're like, what do I use? Which one's the best? The best thing I can tell you to do is test it. Try different things. Ask your colleagues, ask your friends, hey, what do you use for XYZ? And then start from there. But don't be afraid of automation. Automation is here. AI is here, and you can either run away from it in fear, or you can learn how to use it. And they are a tremendous, tremendous tool. Aytekin, I want to thank you so much for being on the show today. It was great talking automation with you. I think more people need to embrace the power of automation. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Mark, for having me on the show. And I'm really excited to be on your show. Thank you.
Wait. Don't leave yet. I have a big, huge, ginormous favor to ask of you on behalf of Aytekin and myself. If you found value in this episode, which you probably did if you listened all the way to the end, will you please smash that share icon on whatever podcast player you're listening to the show on right now, and share this episode with 2 or 3 of your friends. Let us get the word out about automation. And don't forget, you want to find out anything about me, you want to sign up for my email newsletter, the free 21-day productivity challenge, or anything else you can imagine that's about me, yours truly, Mr. Productivity. It's at, well, guess where? MrProductivity.com, M-I-S-T-E-R, MrProductivity.com. Thank you so much for your time and attention, for listening to this episode of the Mr. Productivity Podcast. Until I'm back again with a brand new episode really soon, stay productive and stay positive.